They were gooey, crunchy, sticky, or downright weird. But to a 70s kid, these foods were everything. Before energy drinks and kale smoothies, there were bright boxes, cartoon mascots, and flavors so artificial they practically glowed. If you grew up in the 1970s, these foods weren't just snacks, they were childhood itself. Today, we're digging up 30 classic foods only a true 70s kid would remember. From those lunchbox legends to the sugary cereals that could send your dentist into a panic. So grab a seat at the Formica table, pour yourself a glass of Tang, and let's rediscover the wild, wonderful, and sometimes strange foods that made growing up in the 70s so unforgettable. Swanson TV dinners. Back in the 70s, nothing screamed excitement on a weeknight like a Swanson TV dinner. Those foil trays promised a 3-course meal ready in minutes. No cooking, no cleanup, no worries. Whether it was the famous Salisbury steak with gravy that always ran into your peas or the fried chicken that somehow stayed crispy despite spending half an hour in the oven, these dinners felt like a small celebration. And if you were lucky, there was a brownie tucked away in one of the compartments, half-baked, but absolutely perfect. You'd pull up your TV tray, twist the dial to Happy Days, and dig in. It wasn't gourmet, but it was ours. A cozy slice of 1970s comfort. Funny face drink mix. Forget about hydration and electrolytes. 70s kids were all about funny face drink mix. These sweet neon-colored powders came with goofy mascots and wacky flavors like Goofy Grape and Choo Choo Cherry. You'd dump a packet into a plastic pitcher, stir it around, and watch that bright color swirl like a magic potion. Some kids even lick the powder straight from the packet, grinning with sugar-stained lips and a tongue dyed for hours. Funny Face was more than a drink. It was an entire summer afternoon bottled up in a paper envelope, fueling games, laughter, and the kind of sugar rush that had parents rolling their eyes. Jell-O 1, 2, 3. In the 70s, dessert meant one word: Jell-O. And no version was more exciting than Jell-O 1, 2, 3. It was like a science project you could eat. One packet, mixed just right, turned into 3 distinct layers: a creamy mousse on top, a fluffy middle, and classic Jell-O on the bottom. It looked like a miracle and felt futuristic, like you were living in tomorrow. The taste might have been a bit of a mystery, somewhere between strawberry and laboratory experiment, but nobody cared. Jell-O 1, 2, 3 was the coolest dessert at any 70s table. Proof that food could be fun, weird, and a little bit magical all at once. Marathon bar. If you were a 70s kid, you probably remember the Marathon bar, a chocolate-covered braided caramel rope that seemed to go on forever. It wasn't just a candy bar, it was a challenge. You'd peel back the bright red wrapper, revealing a treat that measured a full 8 inches long, with a ruler printed right on the package. Each bite was sticky, chewy, and determined to weld itself to your molars for the rest of the day. It took time, patience, and maybe a glass of milk to conquer one, but that was the point. The Marathon bar was about savoring every gooey inch and bragging about it afterward. For a generation that didn't rush, this was the ultimate slow snack. Danish go-rounds. Breakfast in the 1970s wasn't all about plain cereal. Sometimes it was sweet, swirled and straight from the toaster. That's where Danish go-rounds came in. These toaster pastries were shaped like a pinwheel, filled with fruit or cinnamon, and designed to unroll as you ate them. They felt fancier than a Pop-Tart and a bit more grown up, even if you burned your tongue every single time trying to eat them too fast. Danish go-rounds were a reminder that mornings could be fun, with a swirl of sticky filling to make the bus ride just a little more bearable. Crazy Cow cereal. No cereal summed up 70s sugar shock quite like Crazy Cow. It was a simple concept with an outrageous payoff. Pour milk over chocolate or strawberry-coated corn puffs, and the milk instantly turned into a sweet, flavored treat. It was basically breakfast and dessert rolled into one. You'd crunch through the candy-like coating, then gleefully slurp up the chocolate or strawberry milk left behind. In a decade obsessed with wacky mascots and novelty cereals, Crazy Cow was the kid-friendly holy grail, a bowl that promised 2 hits of sugar for the price of 1. Fruit Brute. Long before pumpkin spice took over fall, there was Fruit Brute, one of General Mills's monster cereals that didn't survive past the early 80s. Fruit Brute mixed fruity-flavored cereal with colorful marshmallows and had a cartoon werewolf on the box that was just as memorable as the cereal itself. Sure, the flavor was somewhere between cherry cough syrup and pure sugar, but nobody cared. For a 70s kid, it was the coolest cereal you could brag about to your friends. And the monster lineup on Saturday mornings wasn't complete without it. Toastwiches. If you were hungry after school in the 70s, Toastwiches were waiting in the freezer. These were like Hot Pockets before Hot Pockets. Flaky pastry with gooey cheese or pizza filling, ready to toast up in minutes. You'd bite in, practically burning the roof of your mouth, but it was worth it. Toastwiches were quick, warm, and a lifesaver when you had no patience to wait for dinner. They had a way of sticking in your memory, partly because they stuck to the toaster too, leaving behind cheesy fingerprints of your childhood. Space food sticks. Nothing captured the space-age spirit of the 70s quite like space food sticks. Inspired by NASA missions, these chewy, protein-packed snacks made every kid feel like an astronaut. They were sort of a cross between a candy bar and an energy bar, wrapped in futuristic foil, promising you a taste of the final frontier. They didn't always taste amazing, kind of like sweet putty, but no kid could resist the chance to say they were eating space food. It was the closest you'd get to being an Apollo mission hero at the lunch table. Chocolate. In a world before chocolate bars had to be extreme, there was Chocolate. This airy, bubbly milk chocolate treat was like biting into a sweet cloud, light, crisp, and so satisfying. Chocolate bars felt high-tech, boasting tiny air pockets that made the chocolate melt faster and taste smoother. You could break off squares one by one, or just chomp through the whole thing in a sugar-happy haze. It wasn't just a candy bar. It was a gentle moment of chocolate bliss that every 70s kid still dreams about. Pizza spins. Pizza flavors in a snack? That was mind-blowing for 70s kids, and pizza spins delivered. Shaped like little pinwheels and dusted with a spicy, cheesy powder, these crackers tried to capture the taste of a full slice of pizza in one bite. They were crunchy, tangy, and perfect for after-school snacking or sneaking into lunchboxes. Even if they didn't exactly taste like real pizza, they had enough of that herby, tomatoey kick to fool your brain and hook you for good. Pizza spins might be gone from shelves, but the flavor memory lives on for any 70s kid who ever tore through a whole box on a Saturday afternoon. Fudgetown cookies. There was something irresistible about Fudgetown cookies. Those round, chocolatey treats with a creamy fudge center. They felt fancy, like the kind of cookie you'd save for a special treat after school. or that you'd proudly offer to your best friend during a sleepover. The chocolate ring outside and the soft fudge inside made them rich without being over the top. They were sweet, simple, and always reliable. The kind of cookie that reminded you childhood could be wonderfully predictable in the best way. Tang. If there was a drink that practically defined the 1970s, it was Tang. Marketed as the same orange drink astronauts took to the moon, Tang turned an ordinary glass of water into a neon orange, vitamin-packed powerhouse, or so the commercials claimed. It tasted like orange candy dissolved in sugar water, but kids loved it anyway. Mixing up a big pitcher of Tang made you feel like part of the space program, even if you were just sitting at the kitchen table with a peanut butter sandwich. For many 70s kids, Tang was more than a drink. It was a symbol of modern living, a promise that the future was bright and tasted like orange, fruity pebbles. Nothing woke up a 70s kid faster than a bowl of fruity pebbles, bursting with color and cartoon fun thanks to Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble. These rice cereal flakes were like edible confetti for your breakfast. The cereal was sweet, crunchy, and guaranteed to turn your milk into a rainbow-colored swirl that was almost as good as the cereal itself. Fruity Pebbles made mornings feel exciting, even on a boring school day. And no 70s childhood was complete without that sugary rush before the bus arrived. Shake-a-puddin'. Long before snack packs took over lunchboxes, 70s kids had shake-a-puddin'. These packets of instant pudding were an interactive dessert. Add milk, shake like crazy in a plastic cup, and voila, a creamy treat you made yourself. It felt empowering, like a science experiment that ended with chocolate or butterscotch pudding. And even if the lumps didn't always dissolve, nobody cared. Shake-a-puddin' was about the fun of shaking, laughing, and eating something you made with your own two hands. Even if mom still had to help you clean up afterward. Hostess Chocodiles. Imagine a Twinkie but dipped in chocolate. That was the Chocodile, a 70s snack dream come true. The creamy vanilla filling, soft golden cake, and chocolate coating made it feel like you were getting away with something decadent. They were harder to find than regular Twinkies, which made them feel extra special. If you saw Chocodiles in the store, you begged your parents to grab a pack because you never knew when they'd disappear again. They might have been sticky, messy, and overly sweet, but to a 70s kid, they were pure, unfiltered happiness in a wrapper. Libbyland dinners. Frozen food in the 70s didn't stop at TV dinners. Libbyland took it even further, creating meals designed just for kids. These colorful, compartmentalized trays served up options like spaghetti with meat sauce, beef patties, or even fish sticks, plus a tiny dessert to finish it off. The best part, the packaging. Bright, cartoony characters promised an adventure at mealtime, and that made opening the freezer feel like opening a treasure chest. Libbyland dinners may not have tasted like much, but they were a rite of passage for any kid who wanted to feel independent while still eating on a plastic tray. Screaming Yellow Zonkers. The name alone was enough to get your attention. Screaming Yellow Zonkers. This sweet, crunchy popcorn treat came in a bright, bold box full of wild jokes and silly cartoons. The popcorn itself was covered in a neon yellow sugary glaze that was impossible to resist, even if it left your fingers sticky for hours. It was loud, colorful, and pure 70s fun. a snack that made you laugh just looking at the box and made you smile even bigger when you dug inside for one more handful. Hubba Bubba Bubblegum. If you wanted to blow the biggest bubble on the playground, Hubba Bubba was your ticket. Launched in the late 70s, it was softer, juicier, and way easier on your jaw than other gums, letting you go for those giant bubbles without risking a sore mouth. The flavors were bold, from classic bubblegum to outrageous watermelon, and the wrappers always felt fun to unwrap, like you were peeling open a secret treat. Every 70s kid knew that popping a Hubba Bubba bubble on your friend's face was the ultimate prank, and the sweet, sticky aftermath was just part of the deal. Snack pack pudding cups. Before modern pudding cups took over, Snack Pack was the king of lunchtime desserts. These little aluminum cans with the pull-tab lids were packed with rich, creamy chocolate or vanilla pudding that felt like the height of luxury. Peeling back that sharp-edged lid, you'd risk a cut thumb just to get a spoonful of that smooth, sweet goodness. And when you finished, you'd scrape every last bit out, making sure no chocolatey goodness went to waste. Snack packs were a lunchbox flex, showing everyone at the table that you were living the good life. Alpha Bits cereal. Learning and snacking all in one, that was the promise of Alpha Bits. This oat and corn cereal let kids spell out silly words while munching down spoonfuls of sugary letters floating in milk. Sure, the letters got soggy faster than you could finish spelling your name, but that didn't matter. There was something magical about seeing your breakfast turn into a word puzzle, even if it ended up as sweet mush halfway through the bowl. Alphabets made you feel smart and satisfied, and no Saturday morning cartoon lineup was complete without a bowl by your side. Caravelle bar. If you wanted a candy bar that felt a bit grown up, Caravelle was your pick. A perfect blend of caramel, crisped rice, and milk chocolate, it offered a rich, satisfying crunch that stood out from the typical kid-friendly treats. Unwrapping a Caravelle bar was like unwrapping a small luxury, with that shiny foil promising something special. It was sweet, slightly gooey, and always just a bit more sophisticated than your everyday chocolate bar. For 70s kids, it was a reward. The candy you'd pick out when you wanted to feel a little older, but not too old to still lick the caramel off your fingers. Dunkaroos. While Dunkaroos didn't launch until the 90s, the 70s had their own forerunners, cookies you could dip in frosting, though they weren't yet branded as Dunkaroos. Some kids used animal crackers, others used vanilla wafers, dunking them in a can of cake frosting or peanut butter straight from the jar. It was messy, absolutely chaotic, and felt like a rule-breaking treat. If your mom turned her back, you'd sneak an entire spoonful of frosting, then swirl your cookie through the rest. These early DIY Dunkaroos were the ultimate 70s sugar rush, a precursor to the official versions that would come later. Pillsbury Space Food Sticks. Yes, we talked about Space Food Sticks before, but the chocolate version deserves its own spotlight. Inspired by astronauts, these chewy, brownie-like snacks were basically a cross between a fudge bar and a protein stick, promising a bite of the future in every mouthful. Kids loved telling their friends, "I'm eating what astronauts eat," even if the taste was more science lab than bakery. Still, the chocolate flavor had just enough sweetness to make you feel like you were snacking for science. It was the perfect lunchtime brag, wrapped in shiny foil that made it feel like you were prepping for a rocket launch at the cafeteria table. Pronto Pups. Long before corn dogs took over county fairs, Pronto Pups were the original treat on a stick. These golden, deep-fried hot dogs wrapped in a fluffy batter were the star of many a 70s summer cookout or carnival. Kids loved the crispy outside, the salty hot dog inside, and the pure fun of eating it off a wooden stick. It was easy to dunk in mustard or ketchup, and even easier to devour before your parents could tell you to slow down. Pronto Pups were more than just a snack. They were a bite-sized celebration of summertime freedom. Bubblicious. If there was a rival to Hubba Bubba, it was Bubblicious. This gum was soft, packed with outrageous flavors, and made for blowing bubbles so huge they could cover your whole face. Each chunk was massive compared to stick gum, promising a juicy, mouth-filling chew that seemed to last forever. Whether you picked strawberry grape or classic bubble flavor, you knew one thing. You'd be scraping bubblegum off your cheeks by the end of recess. Bubblicious was messy, bold, and perfectly 70s. A pocket-sized piece of bubble-blowing rebellion. Wacky packages. Technically a sticker series, but wacky packages made their way into lunchboxes right alongside food. These collectible cards spoofed real brands, turning products like Cap'n Crunch into Cap'n Crud and Sugar Pops into Sugar Poops. Kids traded them, laughed at them, and even stuck them on lunchboxes or notebooks to show off their collection. They weren't exactly food, but they defined food culture in the 70s, giving kids their first taste of playful rebellion and satire, one goofy sticker at a time. Sugar Smacks. Few cereals packed a bigger sugar punch than Sugar Smacks. Featuring Diggum the Frog on the box, these puffed wheat nuggets were glazed in a syrupy sweetness that made milk taste like liquid candy. Breakfast with Sugar Smacks was a sticky, crunchy thrill. And even though parents might have complained, kids couldn't get enough. Every bite felt like a forbidden treat, fueling you up for a morning of cartoons and backyard adventures. Burger Chef Fun Meals. Long before the Happy Meal took over, Burger Chef Fun Meals were the kids' meal champion of the 70s. They came with a burger, fries, a drink, and a small toy, all packed in a colorful box decorated with puzzles and games. Opening a fun meal felt like opening a birthday present. The toys were simple, but the excitement was huge, and every kid bragged about which prize they got. It turned a boring fast food run into a mini adventure, leaving you with a smile long after the fries were gone. Fudgicles. On a hot summer day, nothing cooled off a 70s kid faster than a fudgicle. Rich, chocolatey, and ice cold, they were the perfect blend of popsicle fun and creamy dessert. They melted fast, dripping down your hands in the summer heat. But that was part of the joy. You'd race to finish before it turned into a puddle, leaving behind a chocolate-stained grin. Simple, nostalgic, and absolutely essential. Fudgicles were the ultimate 70s summer treat. Zebra cakes. These striped snack cakes were an instant hit with 70s kids. 2 layers of moist yellow cake, sandwiching a creamy filling, all covered in a sweet white icing with chocolate stripes. It was like having a mini birthday cake in your lunchbox. Zebra cakes were soft, sugary, and just the right size to share with a friend, though most of us didn't. Every bite felt like a celebration, no matter what day it was. They were a little messy, a little sticky, and a lot of fun. The kind of snack that turned an ordinary school day into something special. SpaghettiOs. If there was one pantry staple that defined the 70s, it had to be SpaghettiOs. Those little rings swimming in tomato sauce were easy to heat up and practically impossible to mess up, which made them every kid's favorite lunch. You'd slurp them straight from the spoon, ignoring the occasional sauce splash on your shirt, and sometimes even eat them cold right out of the can. No shame. SpaghettiOs were simple, silly, and comfortingly familiar. A warm hug in a bowl that made you feel at home. Pudding Pops. Long before today's freezer section ice cream innovations, there were Pudding Pops. Creamy, cold, and bursting with chocolate or vanilla flavor, they were the best of pudding and popsicles rolled into one. The texture was smooth and rich, and unlike other frozen treats, these never turned rock solid. They stayed silky from the first lick to the last bite. Pudding Pops were the ultimate after-school treat, a 70s freezer staple that still lives on in every nostalgic memory. Tangy Taffy. In the 70s, Tangy Taffy was the ultimate chewy candy. It was stretchy, sticky, and came in bold flavors like sour apple, strawberry, or banana, a tug of war for your teeth in the best way. Every kid had their favorite, and trading flavors at recess was practically an Olympic sport. You'd twist it, pull it, even tie it in knots before finally taking a bite. It was messy, bright, and left your tongue tingling, a perfect symbol of 70s playground fun. Peanut Butter Cap'n Crunch. While the original Cap'n Crunch was already a cereal legend, the peanut butter version took things to a new level in the 70s. Crunchy, sweet, and loaded with that peanutty punch, it turned breakfast into an event. It made your milk taste like dessert, and every spoonful packed a satisfying crunch that was impossible to resist. Kids bragged about it, begged for it, and defended it as the king of Saturday morning cereals. Peanut Butter Cap'n Crunch wasn't just breakfast, it was a ritual. Vienna sausages. Okay, maybe not the most glamorous food, but 70s kids definitely remember them. Those tiny canned sausages were salty, squishy, and strangely addictive. Whether you ate them cold, straight from the can, or warmed them up on a plate, Vienna sausages felt like grown-up food for kids. The kind of snack you'd sneak from the pantry just to feel adventurous. They might raise eyebrows today, but back then. Vienna sausages were part of the curious, slightly questionable magic of 70s childhood food.